Typically, the most common fire response and most common fire cause in a residence is food on the stove or a kitchen fire. Usually this is a result of human error, leaving food unattended, having dirty, grease-laden surfaces on the stove, or a pot or pan of grease that just gets too hot on the stovetop. Just as any fire grows, the fire burning on the stovetop will create smoke, which will begin to fill the space. The heat from the fire will heat the surrounding surfaces. Those surfaces will begin to off-gas, or pyrolysis will occur, and then the fire will begin to burn on those surfaces. Once the fire has grown substantially, the convected and radiated heat from the fire will cause all surfaces in the area to off-gas, which will lead to simultaneous ignition of that area or a flashover in that space. In 2003, we lost Oscar Armstrong at 1131 Laidlaw in a flashover from a fire that started on the stovetop in the kitchen. That kitchen fire became heavily involved, and as a result, the remainder of the first floor flashed over while he was inside without a charged hose line. In 2015, we lost Daryl Gordon in a fire at 6020 Dahlgren Street. At this fire, it started on the second floor in the kitchen from unintended cooking, which eventually extended to involve the entire apartment. While Daryl didn't die in the actual fire space, the uncoordinated ventilation led to heavy fire involvement of the apartment in the second floor hallway. Coupled with the inability to get water on the fire, it rapidly led to smoke on all levels of the building and caused Daryl to have to respond much later on an extra alarm. Later, he eventually fell in an open elevator shaft in a smoke-filled hallway on the 5th floor. Each of these fires started just as the video did. They grew rapidly and led to total involvement of the kitchen, then the living space adjacent to the kitchen. A common issue at both fires, at 1131 Laidlaw and at 6020 Dahlgren, involved uncoordinated ventilation with fire attack. Openings in windows at 1131 Laidlaw, entrance doors being opened in both locations without a hose line ready to operate, and the breaking of the patio door at Dahlgren Street, all were made way ahead of a charged and functioning fire line. At 1131 Laidlaw, this led to a flashover on the first floor, and at 6020 Dahlgren, it led to total involvement of the apartment, which resulted in heavy fire and heat conditions in the hallway. Remember, control ventilation points. Coordinate any opening with line placement and operation. The line must be able to operate in the fire area before you start opening windows, the roof, or doorways remote to the fire. If we aren't coordinated with line placement and ventilation, surely the fire will continue to grow and could potentially lead to flashover. And finally, related to kitchen fires, don't ever fall in the trap of it's just another food on the stove and show up unprepared for those conditions that could exist. Changing gears. In the April 2017 FDTN monthly training outline, it discussed the use of a water can and door control. As you see in this fire, 2.5 gallons from a water can is able to knock back a substantial amount of fire. In a residence or multi-dwelling, this may be enough water to control the door to the fire space and slow fire growth and spread until a line can be placed and put into operation. In a small fire that is still growing on furniture or in a kitchen, it may also keep the fire from growing to the flashover stage. As firefighters, we should not be afraid of carrying the water can on investigation responses, reported food on the stove responses, or in multi-dwellings where the truck will likely get to the fire area quicker than the engine who's stretching hose up multiple floors of steps. This may allow for door control and limit the fire spread. Lastly, always remember to coordinate ventilation with fire tech. Don't needlessly break windows or open doors. Fires today are typically ventilation limited and can suddenly change or grow with a little added oxygen. Always have a hose line in place and expect with turbulent smoke that the fire is ready to light off.